Hello everybody, Iron Man Mark 7 here, and today we're back in Planet Coaster for yet another episode. We made a lot of great progress on Emerald Valley in the last episode. As you can see here, this is one of my favorite parts of the section of the park that we're in so far, is this waterfall here with the lovely plane, and we got a little swan swimming there. I'm gonna have to fix the swan because I realize now that all of a sudden they swim into the hillside, so that's a little bit of a bummer. But overall, this area turned out really good. I'm really pleased with it. We've got the plane, of course, up there. We've got this boat down at the bottom with the archaeologist sitting in it. Let's go ahead and zoom in. We'll get a little bit better view of him. Of course, we've got a broken off plane wing sitting there in the background, and our fish swimming down there right next to him. He's really enjoying that. Okay, so over here we've got the Mexcalente and Street Fox coffee that we put in, and right behind that is where we're working on our shooting gallery ride. And I have done some work on this ride, a little bit off camera, and I'm probably going to do the rest of it off camera too, because I decided, it'd be better for you guys to have the full experience of seeing at least most of it. I know I showed a little bit off on our last episode. Seeing at least most of it for the first time without having seen me build it. That way you can get the full experience of all the jump scares and hopefully other great scenery that I'm putting into the ride. But as you can see, we've got quite a bit of area here that still needs to be filled in. So we're going to be working on that today. But before we get too much further into this video, if you like this video, consider giving it a like, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell to be notified about new videos as they come out. Alright, let's get into the video, guys. Okay, so to start off this time lapse today, I went ahead and did a little work on something I'd already been working on off camera. This bridge here. I wanted to make sure that this bridge had a kind of a ramshackle, could fall down at any point kind of feel to it. So I went ahead and made some custom supports here. Very much so thrown together look that we're going for. And it pulls it off pretty well. It's just a bunch of driftwood planks slapped together at haphazard angles wherever it'll connect. Just to give that idea, that feeling that, this could fall over. It's been here for ages. It's very old, and it doesn't necessarily work quite the way it was intended when it was first built. Wanted to put some lighting on the bridge as well, and I figured, okay, if explorers were just now entering the valley, they would just hang up some lanterns on nails or something like that along the edge of the bridge. So that's what I went ahead and did, and I tested it out real quick to see whether or not it fit once it was night. It definitely does, and was very happy with that. So I went ahead and moved on to adding in some trees and some bushes and stuff. Of course, we've got to add all that kind of stuff in. It is a jungle after all, so I want to make sure that it was properly forested and such. So we went ahead and worked on the monorail tunnel that leads over to the station. Built up a rock cave entrance, basically, is what we went and did. And I put in a ton of rocks here. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. It looks sturdy and solid, like it's not going to go anywhere. It's been there for a while. All in all, the effect is very convincing. Went ahead and put in, of course, more trees. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but that's okay. Trees are good. We need trees, especially for a theme park, because it really helps sell the illusion that that's where you're at. Went ahead and put in some vines here. I wasn't real sure about these because, they do hang pretty low, and I don't have a lot of head clearance here, but I managed to pull it off and get them in place. Behind the vines, I went ahead and placed in these steel posts. and went ahead and made my own custom sign, again out of driftwood planks, just like we did with the supports for the bridge. Went ahead and put those in on both sides, and I will put a sign in on the other side later eventually. But for now, I just went ahead and put in a sign that says monorail, and then I kind of sunk it into the driftwood planks so that only the text showed through. It sells the effect pretty well, gives us a way to customize our signs a little bit more than maybe what we had with base signs. So there you go. Put in these box lights, embedded them into the rock so that they're out of the way, out of sight, out of mind, but they'll also light up the sign so the guests coming through here at night can see what's going on. Now I went ahead and decided we need a thrill ride over here, and I wasn't real sure what to do with it, but I finally decided on this Sky Ace ride. That's what they call it in the game, and I went ahead and put that in. Made a nice little area over here by the monorail station that it could be put in at. And I figured my reasoning behind this was that, you know, if explorers are coming into this area for the first time in ages and ages, not only would they build some sort of transport network like the train station, you know, they'd probably try and install some sort of airfield. So Skies of Adventure is our quote-unquote airfield, where all of our young adventurers can come in and enjoy a bit of a thrill ride as they come into land. So Sky Ace is what I ended up putting in here, and I went ahead and built up this rock wall you see here just to kind of blend it in and give it some support as it is sitting right alongside the water there. So went ahead and finished up that rock wall and decided to go ahead and put the entrance over here. That way I can have a little bit of a queue line. And I went ahead and wove it in here, and I'm gonna do something with this in a later episode, but right now I didn't end up adding much in the way of scenery along the queue path itself. I just went ahead and put in the queue path. Went ahead and did some terraforming underneath the exit path here to bring the water kind of underneath it in a bridge. Looks pretty good. Went ahead and adjusted some of the rocks here as well, and then we went ahead and built a little river stream. I guess you'd call it more of a creek, actually. It's not much of a river, but a little creek going inland a little bit. And after playing around with it a little bit, trying to get the water height just right, we go ahead and move on to something else. So over here at the end of the creek here, we decided to build some sort of ancient structure. I wasn't really sure going into it what it was going to be, but I kind of eventually reached the conclusion that it was going to be some sort of lighthouse or tower with some sort of ritual light on it, or whatever you want to call it. The natives probably used it for some sort of light source. So I went ahead and built up a little bit of a tower, put in some debris here along the ground, because you see we had some parts of the tower that crumbled off and such, so I want to have some debris lying at the bottom, so you knew where that debris went. Went ahead and put in some scaffold because this is an ancient structure, and our archaeologists are gonna be exploring and trying to discover the secrets of this building. So I went ahead and put in a scaffold, added on a little ramp there so they could get up, another secondary scaffold, a little bit smaller there, with a ladder going up the side. And now I start trying to figure out what in the world I can do up top. So we put this firebowl in, and we experiment with some fire emitters, and finally come up with that. It didn't quite fit in the bowl like I hoped. I was hoping to do a little bit better with that, but that's okay. Decided I wanted to have an entrance to the creek source spring, if you will. So I went ahead and built this little, just very, very basic archway over the creek base. And did a little terraforming of the land to try and get it to fit in with the landscape. And then we decided, instead of having yet another bridge going over this tiny little creek, I decided to bring the main pathway up this hill here. And so you see I'm doing a little bit of terraforming to try and get it to go up nice and smoothly. And do a little bit of chiseling, finally get it in place. And then bring the pathway up the side of the hill. So there you go, the pathway is ready for whatever we end up putting over on that side of the hill there. Went ahead and put in a bunch of trees, yay rocks, all those bushes and such. And then I played around with this, and I'm not really sure what I hoped for here, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted. I was gonna try and do some sort of archway with these tropical roots, and I couldn't get it to look natural. So after some experimenting with it, I ultimately scrapped the whole thing. You see it there, but it was a nice experiment. I'm not gonna say it was the best thing I've ever done, but it was a nice experiment. And I decided, you know what? As great as this little tower is, it needs a bit more explanation. It is, after all, an archaeological dig, so we need to make it feel a little more like that. So I went ahead and painted the terrain, made it look like people had recently walked there, and then started throwing down tents and campfires and painting in the landscape here. And I went ahead and put in some trees around the tent there, along the riverbank, creek bank, whatever. And then I was looking for something that I could have somebody sit on, some sort of bench there. And I tried some roots and such. That wouldn't work. I tried these bench pieces that can be placed along paths, and turns out they can't be placed anywhere but paths. So I couldn't place them just on the ground there. So I went ahead and made my own bench. There was one in the bench section that looked almost identical to this, so I went ahead and made that. The archaeologist dude sits a little too low, so I had to lower the plank that he's sitting on just a bit. And I thought about putting some more archaeologists sitting up on top of the scaffolding there, but couldn't figure out how to make that work and hide all the animatronic bits and such, so I just went ahead and put some guy mining there next to the base of it. Put in a tent, put in some lighting in the tent, tried to light this up. It is a camp in the middle of the jungle. It's got to be lit, so there you go. I went ahead and put in a bed inside the tent, because I figure, you know what, you gotta have some sort of living arrangements inside. But I couldn't find a bed within the scenery prop, so I went ahead and made my own. So I've got a very basic box shape here from the Art Shapes tab. Put in some planks and some scaffolding supports. I found this nice bit here for the pillow. I thought it worked okay. And then I put in some smaller rectangles along here to just kind of simulate the bed sheets. So you see me changing those to red there, and then to white up toward the top where it's folded over. And then of course we got to add in some more vegetation around and behind the tent. Put in some rocks. Whatever we need to do to just make this feel like it's in the jungle, not the jungle's around it. Yeah, I don't know if that made any sense, but I hope you guys got what I meant. So I go ahead and put in some more trees, of course, get all that good stuff in. We really want to fill this area out and make it feel alive. So I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and see if we can put in some sort of special effect props or something like that. And the only one I ended up putting in was this smoke effect for the campfire. That worked okay. I tried putting in some rock hits and debris falling and such over by the base of the tower where the guy was mining with his pickaxe, but, you know, I couldn't get that to work, so that's okay. Put in a few park benches around and experimented with this plane. Didn't put it down right away, but you'll see toward the end of the video I end up doing that. And I realized as I was putting down this path piece here for the queue line that I ended up kind of messing up the terrain, so I went ahead and fixed that back up. And then I found these lily pads. I'd never seen these lily pads before, but they're pretty cool, and I'll probably have to put in a few more around as we go. They look okay. I was pretty happy with them. So I went ahead and put in some trees and such along the cliff face here. Yeah, they belong. They definitely fill in the area a little bit. It's not just bare rock and such. So that really helped out. And then, of course, back to trees again. I feel like I'm a broken record right now, but that's mostly what I did in this episode, was a ton of trees. And yeah, it works out. I'm sure you guys would probably like to see me build a roller coaster or something like that. And I'm sure that'll probably be coming too, because I want to have at least one coaster for each and every area of the park. And so far we haven't got a coaster in this area. It might even happen yet in the next episode. So we'll have to see about that. I went ahead and put in a vista point there so that people could look at our mining tower, or dig tower. I guess it's not a mining tower. And after a little bit of looking here at the coloring and such of the ride here, I finally got it all set up. So we went ahead and did a kind of a tan color with red accents on the planes, and there we go. Alright, so next, lighting for Skies of Adventure, which is what I went ahead and named this ride. Didn't like Sky Ace 1, which is what it did by default put on there, so I went ahead and put Skies of Adventure, and went ahead and put these lights along the cliff face. I know they're not exactly immersive, but you know what? It's okay. It's an airfield, so they've got to have some modern concessions. So they went ahead and put in these lights along the cliff face, and that's my lore for this area. Whether or not it makes sense, hey, if you've got a problem with it, tell me in the comments below. I'll be happy to try and think of something else, but that's what I went ahead and went with. I put in these street lights over on the other side and then stuck some more floodlights on there so that it was lit from all sides, not just the side the cliff was on. And yeah, I think that's all I managed to do with the lighting over there. Next, we're going to work on sort of an entrance for the queue line here. And after some looking around, I finally decided on these coaster supports. Actually, they're just supports that you can put on your coasters for high-tech coasters, I guess it is, because they are metal. But I figured, you know, this is an airfield, so metal works. So I went ahead and put these in on their base supports, and I ended up deleting those a little bit later because I didn't quite like those the way they were. We put in some bolts and such around the top just to kind of give it that modern metal feel. Okay, so I went ahead and also put in this facade here, this scaffolding facade, I think is what it's called. Basically, it's part of a coaster. You can put stuff on it, and people can see it as they go by. So that's what it's for. I went ahead and put down this plane sign here that actually is supposed to go with the ride, and it definitely did not fill out that whole area. So I went ahead and put a sign behind it, put skies of, played around with the spacing and such to get it properly lined up, and then I put adventure below it, and it works pretty well. definitely is a little more modern than the rest of the area, but that's okay. Like I said, it's an airfield. It's the first advances of civilization into this new land. Okay, so there's that plane I was talking about earlier. I went ahead and put that in, and the plane wing kind of overhangs the queue line, which I kind of liked. So I went ahead and decided to put a sign below it. You know, these people need some sort of safety sign, some sort of immersion sign, if you will, to help them believe that they're actually getting on a real plane. They're going to be taking a wonderful adventure through the jungle off to their destination, or vice versa. They're coming from their destination to this jungle here. So I wanted to remind all of our guests to fly safe. Went ahead and put in this sign, played around with the rivets and such, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Alright guys, so that rounds out today's video. We made a lot of great progress. Was hoping to make a little bit more, but that is okay. You know, you don't always have a good day in terms of progress, in terms of creativity. I think creativity was definitely good today, just maybe not the speed with which it was executed. We did a lot of cool stuff with this video. We've got the Skies of Adventure over here that we put in. Really happy with that ride. You know, the Empire State Building in the middle doesn't necessarily fit, but you know, it was what I could find. I figured planes would be a great way to bring this area together, make it feel a little more inhabited. We've also got some really great scenery elements here. So we've got this archaeologist camp that I worked on for a little while. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. We've got a little debris on the ground. We got this bed inside the tent that I couldn't find a scenery prop for, so I just went ahead and made one myself. And it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. So yeah, we've done a lot of good stuff with today's episode. We've got Skies of Adventure and this sign here. Oops. Went a little too far, too fast there. Skies of Adventure sign. That turned out a lot better than I was anticipating it would. It really works pretty well. So yeah, we've got some guests filtering in now. They really seem to be enjoying the ride, and I'm sure as the park continues to fill up, this ride queue will get a little bit longer. But unfortunately, guys, that is all the time we have for today's video. So if you did like the video and made it this far, please be sure to hit that like button. And if you're at all new to the channel, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell to be notified about new Planet Coaster videos as they come out. Anyway, guys, thank you again so much for watching, and I will see all of you in the next video.